Hello, everyone. Happy Friday. Welcome. We're live and we're creating a Fey Henge today. Map not too similar from this one. We're going to make it with the Fantasy Battlemap style, and we're going to be doing it in 15 minutes or less. Now, if you're unfamiliar with what exactly a henge is, it's generally a circle of standing stones or upright wooden pieces, though in fantasy you could stretch it. It could be like a pile of bones or whatever. So it can be a number of different things, really. Hey, Bitter Dan, glad that you are here. So, happy Friday. The weekend is finally here. I hope all of you got some fun plans for the weekend. I know I do. Today, again, we're creating that Fey Henge, not too similar from this one. So we'll take you through the tips and tricks on how to do the pre-planning, and then I'll show you how to make the map, and then we'll do that 15-minute challenge at the end, just pretty much in the same order that we've been doing it with the last several live streams, and we'll probably be sticking with this format for a lot of the content moving forward, but not all of them, okay? Oh, awesome. Glad that you're on time today, Human Gamma. All right, so let's go ahead and jump in. So first things first, we'll want to create a brand new map. We're going to choose Fantasy Battlemaps, and we're going to go ahead and title it Fey Henge. Nice that you can kind of title it in the beginning. We're going to go with Ultra 4K. Just kind of a reminder, if you have a lower end machine, stick with low or medium or 1 or 2K editing. If you have a higher end machine, go with the higher 3 or 4K. And then when it comes to your aspect ratio, I'm going to go ahead and go to custom. And I've said this before in the past, but when you're making a time challenge map, especially something like 15 minutes, you're going to want to stick with a scale that's going to be realistic. You're clearly not going to create the entire Feywild in 15 minutes, so you're just going to create a segment of it. So we're going to keep it realistic. So instead of 40 by 30 tile landscape, I'm going to go with half of that, so 20 by 15. And now I'm working at a much more realistic scale within the time frame that I'm working. Hey, Typher Zero, glad that you're here. You try to keep things realistic because 15 minutes isn't a lot of time. And so if you want to make a decent map with that, you got to do all that pre-planning. So let's just go ahead and turn it over. So what we'll do first is we'll turn that grid on so that I can use this for scale right here. So now I have my scale set. We'll go ahead and put the grid at layer +5 for now, just so that it's above everything else. I can kind of use it that way. And what we'll want to do now is we'll want to going to do some pre-planning stuff. And something I've left out in the last several videos is how is it that I come up with the concept for a design? Because in the last two videos, I already had a design in my mind, and then I just started pre-planning the assets that were needed for that one, but I didn't show you how I did it. So the way that I normally come up with concepts is a number of ways. And the first one, which is the obvious one a lot of people do, which is just I'll go onto Pinterest or a Google image search or whichever search engine you choose and just kind of look for images of a concept. You know, like if I'm looking for a Fey henge, I'll just look up a henge and then look at the design and say, I like that design. And then I'll try to somewhat replicate it and then apply a Fey theme to it. That's one way, which I do often. The other one is sometimes I'll just draw a sketch. Like I'm not finding the concept that I want online or a image reference. So instead what I'll do is I'll use the line tool to create a sketch. And now for those of you who are not art inclined, not artists, it's okay. You don't have to be one, because the beauty of a sketch is that it doesn't have to be perfect, right? A sketch is just a simple guide to kind of give you an idea of what you're working with. Now, when I'm doing the sketch, there's a couple things that I kind of do, like some cheats to kind of help me to come up with a good concept. And that is I work with contrasts. For example, having a contrast between land and water. Those are nice contrasts. So you could have the henge be on an island along a coastline or along a lake. There you have your land and your water. There's a nice contrast. Maybe I want my Fey henge to be high up, and then I want to have a path at the bottom kind of leading up to the top. Another contrast depth, right? Something is up high, something is down low. So when you're working with contrasts, that kind of helps you to kind of give you an idea. Now, I like the first one, which was just working with water and land, but work on that contrast. And so what I'll do is I'll just kind of create a little sketch where I'll kind of have this be the land, and then I can kind of create like this little island, like a lake island right here like this. And I want the island to be somewhat in a shape that kind of fits up against this right here. In other words, what happened is that some erosion came through here. This erosion took place in this area right here. right? And yet it kept its shape with the island there. So we're going to do that. I might even move the land a little bit more inward this way. That's the beauty of sketching with the pen or with the line tool, is that you can move the sketch around, you can rotate it. If you're not satisfied with that, you can have it like this, or if you want it to be on the other side. So just sketching with the line tool is kind of a quick and easy way to kind of come up with a sketch that you can kind of edit. And it doesn't, remember, it doesn't have to be perfect. You don't have to worry about that. I think right about here looks good. It kind of follows the shape fairly well. And you'll notice that this is not perfectly centered. One thing in art concepts is not to have your focal point, which is going to be the henge, to be perfectly centered. Notice how it's off-centered a little bit, like it's still in this center region right here, but it's a little off to the left. This is a common art concept, is to off-center your focal point so it's not perfectly centered. Very common art concept. All right, so after that, I kind of got that down, and then from here, I might want to decide on maybe just some very small geographical elements that I want to add to it. For instance, like maybe I want to add a couple cliffs like this, and then this right here can be the path that kind of leads to it. And the way that I decide cliffs for height is, the trick is when you're making it, don't make them all like this, perfectly in the perfect shape. Throw them, make them different. You notice how this one is wildly different from this one right here. This one is not super close to this one. It kind of brings itself in. This is how you kind of create this top-down topography when you're putting your lines together. So we have this concept put together now, and what I'll do is I'll just go ahead and just delete the little arrow I use. I won't need that anymore. I'm going to select it all. I'm going to group it. Just go create group, and I'm going to call it the sketch. So those are the concepts in which I use to kind of help to come up with like this concept for what I'm making, right? So you don't want to do all this work. You can use a reference, or if you're going to use your own imagination, remember contrasts, because contrasts are what pop, right? Two things contrasting each other, and that's how you can come up with a decent composition. So now that that part's done, I can actually start pre-planning some stamps and stuff that I want to use. What I might want to consider doing is moving this all the way down to layer -5 and then bringing the opacity down so it's not so intrusive. And then from there, I'll just go right over here into the right panel and I'll lock that selection, and now it won't be in my way. So from here, I'll start working on the next step. And when I'm doing my pre-planning, I generally do it in an order. I generally start with my shapes and lines, stamps, and then textures. And the reason why I start with my shapes and lines is because you're going to be using shapes and lines a lot for using the terrain. And when I build from the ground up, right, you build the terrain first, you build the foundations of a building, and then you build your way up, just like you build in real life. So my pre-planning is done in that same order. I start with shapes and lines, stamps, and then textures, okay? You don't have to follow that order. You can go in any order that you want, but I find that one to be the most helpful to me. Okay, so now I'll go over to shapes, like I said. I'm going to go over to stroke, and what I want to do is I'm going to create the land part, and so I'm going to use a shape tool for that. So what I'll do is I'll go into the catalog by just clicking the picture there, and then I'll just type in cliff. And there's a lot of cliffs that you can choose from, including some 2.0 stuff that hasn't been released yet. But we're going to stick with some basic stuff like this just cliff right here. I don't want to go too complex because we're working with just in a 15-minute time period. And so we'll do that. And then I'm also going to choose fill, and I'm going to choose my fill with a clipping mask. So I'll go ahead and place it down so you can see what it looks like. So I have my cliff here, and I have a clipping mask, which is basically going to pick up anything that's on the add or on the FG layer, which is anything made with the add mode of the mask tool. Just know that that will change when 2.0 gets released, but it's not such a crazy change that it's impossible to get used to. So just kind of remember that. So I have that first shape ready, and it's there for me. I have to flip the cliff a little bit to face the other way, so that part's put together. And then what I'll do, of course, always is favorite it. So if I go to my favorites, there it is in my favorites. Of course, favorites will favorites get saved over all of your maps. So let's say that you have a ton of favorites. It isn't indicative to just the map that you're on. Every map will have the favorites that you save. So if you are working on a certain map and you have a bunch of favorites from a previous map that you're working on, delete those and then add in those ones, because the favorites is not isolated to each individual map. It's across all maps. So that first one is set up there. The next step is to create the line that I want. And I've already, what's really cool is that because I already made the shape that had that particular stroke, the line is available there as well. So now that I have that line available, I'll make sure to favorite it so that I have it available to me. So now there goes much of my terrain right there. The next step is to favorite some stamps. And if you're confused about how to look for certain stamps for the pre-planning stage, what I'll do is use what's called tags, right? We have tags within our catalog. If you just type in Fey like this, you'll notice that there's a tag right there that says Fey. You don't have to click it. You could just press enter, and all of the stamps that have a Fey tag on it will be available to you. And what I generally do in this process is I'll go to expand all assets like this, and in that way I have the whole thing available to me. And I'm going to pick some stamps, but what I'll do first is I'm going to pick a summoning circle, because the summoning circle is going to act as the circle in which the henge is going to take place. Remember, a henge is generally a circle, right? And so we're going to choose a summoning circle that looks best. Personally, I find contrasts stick out. So a broken summoning circle is going to already have that contrast built in. It has something, a part of it that's unbroken and a part of it that is broken. And so you have those contrasts there, and that looks really nice. So let's use a broken one. I'll choose one that's kind of colorful too. Maybe this yellow one isn't very colorful, but this red and blue one are kind of nice. I kind of like that. So we'll go ahead and take this, and we're going to go ahead and favorite that right away. This is going to act as basically the henge right here. I'll go ahead and add a blue one as well, just to kind of see which one looks better. You know what? I kind of like the blue one a little bit. I can always change the color as need be. So let's just go ahead and favorite that one right away. That's going to act as my summoning circle. That's perfect. Hey, Alice, glad that you're here. Let's keep going through the catalog. This time I'll go ahead and type in Fey. You have that tag available to you. This just makes it easier for you to find things when you go through the tags. And so one of the first things I'll do is I'll start grabbing some trees. And the reason why I'm going to grab trees next is because I try to work in an order of biggest to smallest. So I'll start with the big stamps first, because they're going to cover the most amount of room on the map. And then I'll move my way to the smaller stamps that are going to be the details, because you generally do the details when at the end or near the end of the map making process. You can't put details down if you don't have the basic layout of the map already put down. So you should generally start with the biggest stamps first. And there's a lot of options in Fey. I'll probably select a lot of them. I'll choose maybe a blue one. In fact, I can just select one of them, just this blue one, and then we can change the hue. That will save us from filling up a lot of our favorites. So I'll go over here. I'll add that to favorites. Let's add in a couple more. I like these. Let's see here. I like these purple pansies right here. That looks good. So let's favorite that. I kind of like these sugar spun flowers. Those are kind of nice. So let's go ahead and add those. Let's see here. I like these rainbow mushrooms. That's nice. Let's just keep adding that. Fey is so much fun to do. There's a lot of cool, beautiful. Let's go with that one too. I like that one. I'm just going to add a bunch, but not too much. Let's kind of go through here. What else do we have here? I like these tentacles. These could prove useful. Some kind of environmental challenge for the players is always a good idea. I kind of like, let's keep scrolling down, see what other options we have here. I see a bunch of other flowers in here. Let's kind of also choose vines. That's always a good choice. Let's just keep kind of looking at other options here. I think we could probably choose, I think these orbs right here kind of look nice. This yellowish kind of color, they're kind of bright, and that kind of looks nice. So we'll add that. Where are we at for time here? Oh, 3:14. Perfect. Tons of time. Want to make sure that I'm not blabbing too much. All right, let's just keep going through the catalog. Some fallen trees are always nice to have. That's, again, contrasts. So let's go favorite that. And then let's do one more. And then these Fey lights are really nice. I really like those. Let's go ahead and add those. And then we'll switch over to textures. So we have a good palette of stuff to work with. If I go over here, I go into favorites, and you'll see I have a nice palette of stamps to work with, so that's nice. Let's go over to textures. Again, I'm just going to use the Fey tag to look for some ones. Let's go with this one right here, and then we can change the color of the hue as need be. Let's go back into the catalog. We'll find a couple more. I like this purple one. Let's do that. And in fact, while I'm looking for these, I want to talk a little bit about color, because some people might ask, like, how do I decide what textures to use? So a little bit about color theory, and I'll just keep it really brief, but look up what's called complementary colors. And complementary colors are two colors that complement each other. And so if you kind of look that up, usually it's just a very simple principle. Good examples would be like purple, yellow, and I think green and brown work with almost anything because they're kind of these natural neutral colors. But if you look up complementary colors, you'll find that this is very, very helpful. And it's simplistic, right? You're not worrying about a triadic color scheme where there's 3 different colors or 12 different colors. It's just sticking with your complementary colors. It's always a good start. And then you can kind of expand on those colors as you start adding textures. And I'll explain that as we go through it. So let's just add in a couple more. What might be nice is to add in a texture that is kind of more structured. Like a lot of the textures we've added are natural, but you'll see here, like there's these polka dots right here and this kind of stained glass kind of textures. Let's also include these just in case. They should be interesting. So I'll add that. And I also want some water. So I'll use this bright green. I think, oops, I accidentally filled it, but that's okay because we're going to fill the canvas with that. And then let's add in some Fey lights. These green Fey lights are nice. And then we'll add in, let's say, these blue Fey lights. Let's add those. Okay. All right, so we've done all about our pre-planning. We have all our stamps kind of set up for what we want. I'll go through it again. You see the assortment here. Same thing here. Here they are in my favorites. Here. And right here as well. So favoriting all your stuff, and that only took about 17 minutes, less than that, really. It took about 13 minutes just to do that prep work, so it didn't take too long. So from here, we can use this sketch as a guide, and I'll start by making the land bits, because I'm using the BG layer as my water part, right? So I'll go back to the shape tool here, I'll go to the brush, and what I'll do is I'm just gonna go ahead and just kind of paint in like this, fill it all the way in. And now I have that, and what's really nice is I can still move it around. I'll turn snap to grid off, and I can kind of move this or rotate it as need be, right? That's kind of helpful. Excuse me. So I got that part. Let's go ahead and finish it. Let's continue adding the other land bit, the main body, like this. And we're going to fill the whole thing in like this. There we go. That looks like that's all filled in. You'll kind of notice that there's these cliffs right here on this side. That's okay. All you have to do is just make it a little bit bigger. You can scale it up by just going right here over to size and just scale it up to where those cliffs around the edges there just go off screen, right? Just hide it. That's all you have to do. So now we've done that part. Let's go ahead and add in that height that we were talking about. I don't really need the sketch anymore, so that's fine. I'll just go ahead and delete that. Let's go back to the line, and then I'll just change it up here. Let's make sure that it's up one layer above this stuff right here. We're going to use that free draw. I am using a pen, but you can use a mouse as well. In fact, I'll use a mouse so you can kind of see how I use the mouse like this. Let's bring it up to here because I want to create a passage right there. There we go. And if it's facing the wrong way, you just flip it. And just like I did before, I'll go over to here. Let's go over to here like this. I'm using a mouse just so you can kind of see for yourself how I'm doing it. Okay, here we go. So let's go ahead and do this one. I'm going to flip that. And let's go like this. There we go. And so now I have this sense of height on the map, which is going to be kind of helpful. Let's go ahead and choose a texture that we want to represent the FG layer or the land bits. Let's use a purple one because purple and green are kind of complement each other a little bit, and so they go well together. So I'll switch to FG layer, and then I'll fill. like this, and you'll notice that already we kind of have a nice setup going on. And what's nice is that no matter where I move this, because it's the FG layer and I filled the FG layer with this texture, now no matter where I place it, it'll have it. You don't do any of your texture work yet. You wait until all of the landmass shapes are exactly where you want them. And now that I've kind of have that together, I can go ahead and select all of those lines and shape, create group, and call it the land. Or you can call it base. It doesn't really matter. And we'll put this all the way down on layer -5 so that I have lots of layer room to start stacking these on top of each other. Hey, first time chatter, I'll go ahead and read your whole thing in just a moment. Okay, so we have all that together. We have our land. I'm going to go ahead and lock that so I don't accidentally select it. You'll notice that this has a large bounding box or selection box, and so I'll probably accidentally select it. So just lock it and get it out of that way. So that part's done. And now we can start throwing in on some stamps. And what I'll do is I'll start with the largest stamps first because it's going to take up the most amount of room, right? If you start with details, small little details, you'll have all this negative space. And by negative space, I mean no stamps, right? And that makes it feel like you have more work. So start with your largest stamps first. And I'll start with the summoning circle where my henge will be. That's a good start. And we don't have to keep it at this color. I'm going to do a lot of color changing in just a moment. We'll put down all the stamps first, and then we'll do all this cool color changes that we want. So the largest stamp first is that one. The next one in my favorites will probably be trees. For now, we'll use these blue ones, and we're going to place them all the way up on layer 5 because they're the tallest thing in the map, right? The trees that you can see. Clouds, you don't see them, but trees are going to be the tallest thing, and so we'll put them on layer +5, and I'm going to place them along the edge here so that it kind of frames the path that kind of leads to that. So I'll put some there. Let's put some here. Let's put another one right there. I think that looks good. I think that looks okay. Yeah, let's call that good. So now we have some of those there. Let's go back into our favorites here. Let's have maybe like a bush or this tree right here, and that maybe it kind of leads to the henge. So you could like go across this to get to the island over here. I think that's a good touch. We'll keep going through the catalog here. Let's go ahead and add some bushes. I'll put this down on layer 2. It's going to be below these trees. So I'll go ahead and place these. I'm going to place just to give some ground cover. And the way that I'm kind of arranging them is just kind of underneath the trees to kind of show this sense of height, right? The bushes are underneath the trees, so you can show the trees are higher. So we'll go ahead and place some of these. I don't really even care much for the purple color because it kind of blends in too much with that, but don't worry, we're going to change the colors. So let's go ahead and do that first. One thing I forgot to add was the standing stones. One of the most important things. I didn't grab them, but they're easy to grab here. So I'll go ahead and place these. I'll go ahead and just size it up right about here. And I'll just go ahead and favorite it right away so it's there. And I'll place a couple stones here. And I'm going to use the grid as kind of a guide. So I'll kind of place a stone there. And what I'll do is I'll place one here. I'll turn off random rotate because it's just getting in my way. And for now, I'm just going to have them kind of circle around a little bit, like this, and then those are the ones that are standing. We could also put one standing and going across on top, like this, just like it's Stonehenge. And what we'll do is we'll rotate it a little bit this way so you can see some of the standing stones on top. Let's have one that maybe fell down. Let's go with this one. We'll make it look like it kind of fell down. And then we'll put another one under the water, but we'll do that in just a moment. Let's just place them first in the location that we want. Let's go ahead and add in maybe another fallen one, like right here. And let's see, right about there should be good. Let's put one there, another fallen stone. Let's put it up a layer so that it's above, like that. There we go. That looks good. So we have some stones there. That looks good. Okay, let's keep going. Let's go ahead and add some of these. Let's go ahead and use these ones right here. I'll kind of place them just along this ledge here. And we'll change the colors of those shortly. Don't be discouraged if you don't care for that, because the beautiful part is we're going to use filters and hue to change the colors, and we're going to make them to where the colors are related to each other. So when we apply a color filter and we start when we apply a filter and start changing the hue, all of the colors should blend together. So, but first we have to kind of put all the stamps, do the composition first, and then we'll start changing the colors. So we'll add that. Let's keep going in. We'll add in more. Let's add in this right here. Looks good. I kind of like this one. Let's put this a layer below. Let's make sure that all these stones right here are up a layer. So I'll select all from the set, bring them all up a layer. And what I'll do, there we go, that looks good. Let's go ahead and use this now. I'll push this down a layer. Let's go with just this one right here. I kind of like this one. So I'll place this here. Let's place one here, here. One right there looks good. Okay, that looks good. Let's go ahead and put some of these in here too. I kind of like this one. Let's have it kind of just right underneath there. Another one right here, and I kind of like this one, so let's move this one right there. So we have some nice contrasting colors there. Now that I kind of have that done, and I already know what 5x5 feet is because I did a stone right here, I'll go ahead and just turn off the grid now. I don't really need it anymore. I put enough stamps down now that are going to kind of help me to keep scale, so that's going to be helpful. I'll go ahead and rotate this stone a little bit more, like this, have it kind of pointing in towards the center of the summoning circle. This one as well is pointing inward towards the center of the summoning circle. Same thing with this one, pointing inward into the center of the summoning circle. All very helpful. Let's keep adding in a couple more stamps here. I kind of like these tentacles. Let's kind of have some maybe just kind of coming out of the wooded area. Let's do this. Let's go up a layer. How about that? Let's go up one more. Right there looks good. Let's put another one in like right here. Right there looks good. Let's go, you know what? Let's actually put them along the path right here. I want my players to maybe have to fight some tentacles to kind of get their way to this summoning circle. So we'll have maybe right about here, your players start. They can come in and they can start hacking away at these tentacles. So some environmental challenges before they get to the henge there. So that looks good. All right. We'll keep adding more to it. I think this looks good so far. 120 changes. All right, let's go ahead and go over my textures here, and I can start applying some different textures here. Let's maybe use this. Let's use this one right here. It's got some stone in it, and I'll go ahead and just apply that right here to this one. Let's go ahead and apply it right here as well, so that way there's like a path with the same texture as the island here, kind of leading towards that. Let's go ahead and throw in some of these green sparks right here. We'll go ahead and put them in the water along the edge here. Oopsie, my mistake. Click the wrong one. Oops. That's what I get for being too close to this window right here. There we go. Go ahead and add those green sparkles right about in there. That looks good. All right, that looks good. Okay, well, I would save, but I don't want to... Well, yeah, I'll save it for right now, real quick. We'll quickly save, and then we'll kind of go over some last bits about some details, lighting, shadows, and filters. And I can tell you right now that light and shadow is one of the best ways to make your map really, really, really pop out. So we'll kind of go over all of those elements. So our first thing is that we'll probably want to go ahead and put some texture. Like I see some blue here. You know what? Let's go ahead and start playing with color scheme a little bit. Let's go ahead and choose these purple pansies right here. I'm going to go ahead and select all. If you just select one of them, hamburger menu, select all from the set, go to advanced settings, you'll see this hue right here. And you can use this hue slider to kind of go through. I'll even bump the saturation up just to kind of make it pop more. And then I can kind of go through the hue slider and kind of find a color that I like. And I kind of like this kind of bright, kind of pink kind of color. I kind of like that. That looks nice. Let's go ahead and change the color of these ones right here. Select all from the set. We'll change the hue. I kind of like the purple right there. Let's maybe bring the brightness down a little bit, and we'll bump up the saturation. That looks good. And let's go ahead and select these trees here. Blue still works just fine, though we could change it. Let's go ahead and change the summoning circle. I'm going to bump up saturation. I'm going to bump up the brightness a little bit, and we'll change that hue. Well, you know, I kind of like the green. I think that actually looks kind of cool. I like that. Let's stick with that. Okay, looking cool so far. Liking all that stuff. Where are we at for time here? Oh, cool. 15 minutes left. Awesome. Let's go ahead and continue just adding a couple more details, and we'll change up the color of a couple more things. One thing I didn't do was add a more human or a more a texture that's a little bit more human, I guess. We can type in tile right here, and let's go ahead and use this green tile right here. This looks good. I'll probably have to change the texture scale just a little bit. Let's bring that down. I'll bring the opacity down, and now I'll have this more unnatural texture. So I'll bring the opacity way, 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 way down, and then I'll just kind of go in here like this. Make sure it's set to FG layer and just lightly kind of go over it with like this kind of checkered texture. We can even add some a little bit on the island here, like that. Now you have this kind of textured, like unnatural texture. Okay, looks good. Let's just keep going. All right, let's go ahead and show that these stones, let's talk about height a little bit. To show that these stones are higher up than some of these other stones, we're going to do two tricks. We're going to use contrast, right? So first we'll make a shadow that is fairly large. So I'll bring the intensity up and bring the blur. That will help. And then I'll also bring the brightness up. And now bringing the brightness up, what you'll notice is that it kind of causes them to kind of pop out a little bit more. So using contrast to show height, light for things that are higher up and darker for things that are down below. One thing I didn't do was make this stone right here underwater. We'll go ahead and turn the shadow off, blend mode luminosity, bring that contrast down. And now I have some stuff under the water. This stone right here looks like it's partially submerged in the water and the other part up above right here. So you kind of get that concept there. All right, let's go ahead and add the light sources and filters. So one of the light sources are a great way to like put focus on the centerpiece right here. So if I go to light source, let's go to light. I'm going to go ahead and pick the orange one because then I can get a little bit more robust color from it. Put layer +5, put that light just right there in the center there. And what I'll do is I'll just go ahead and change the hue and kind of look for a color that I kind of like. Oh, I kind of like that greenish color. That looks good. I'll copy and paste that green and then put another one down right here. Let's copy and paste and put another green. Let's actually delete that one. Let's put this one right here and we'll bring that light more into the center there. Remember we had those Fey lights right there. Let's go ahead and use these as a detail. We'll go ahead and change the hue on this to it reaches kind of a greenish color. What about there? Looks good. I'll go ahead and add this kind of green sparkly light right here to kind of represent there's something special kind of going on here. So that works out well. All right. Yeah, it's really a nice little thing there. Let's go ahead and add in some filters. Add filter. Good place to start would be something like a vignette. This will kind of fade out the frames, fade out the corners a little bit. We'll go to vignette. Let's go ahead and bump up the opacity, and we'll change the blend mode to, let's say lumina or overlay. There we go. That works out well. Yep, that looks good. Let's go ahead and add in another. I think I already have enough light right there, so let's not worry about that part. Let's go ahead and add in a little bit of shadow work. Top layer. You could use shapes. You could use stamps to do shadow work, but when you're in a time frame like just 15 minutes, the top layer is the best choice for speed. So top layer, make sure the blend mode is set to darken. You can use overlay. That works, but it causes this burn effect with more brownish, reddish colors. And some people don't like that, but if you stick with darken, that will work well and it will still work with filters. Let's go add in one more filter, by the way. Let's go ahead and throw in a cold, warm filter just to kind of throw in because we're already using purples and that cold, warm already has some purple in it. So we'll go ahead and just bring that up like this. There we have a little bit of purple there. That looks fine. Okay, let's go ahead and paint in our shadows. How much time we got? 10 minutes, tons of time. We'll go to top layer. We're going to choose a color. You're going to choose black. Whenever you're painting, you should bring the opacity down to around 30% or so. And what I'll do is I'm just going to paint some shadows where there should be some, like right here where the tree is. You got some shadow right here. Let's add in some more shadows here. Let's add in some shadow right here. There's light right here. So let's build some shadows along here as well because the light source is right here. So we'll build a little bit of shadow along that part there. Let's add a little bit of shadow here, a little bit here, right there, right here should be good. Here, let's put a little bit Oh, you know what? Let's actually bring the size a little too big. There we go. What about there? Looks good. There we go. A little bit of shadow work there. There we go. Okay. Now, a lot of these colors are within like the red and blue range. So when I start applying a filter to it, it should be able to have all the colors worked well together. So if I go over to filters here, add new filter, and it's going to be color adjustment filter, put that plus button there, and you can bump up the opacity a little bit if you want there. Okay. And then now, okay. Oh, people feel attacked by 15 minutes. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Well, this is just to kind of, nobody has to follow the 15-minute guideline. It's just that the 15 minutes is really just to kind of help you to try to get more familiar with the tool and to kind of get a process. Because once you start getting a good process down, then you can get really good maps done in a shorter period of time. So what makes these helpful is that getting that process. Remember, the part of the process is the pre-planning, coming up with a sketch. All of these things are going to be helpful for you too. But of course, you don't have to do 15 minutes. That's entirely up to you. And I totally understand that, because 15 minutes can seem like a bit overwhelming and it can be intimidating. And that's fine. Don't do a time challenge, but at least glean from the videos the process, because the process will always speed up when you have a good process. It'll speed up your map making process. So these videos will be helpful in that way. Okay, so let's go ahead and change this. So I brought up the opacity a little bit to around 70%. If you go to hue here, I can now change the hue and kind of get whatever kind of color scheme that I kind of want. So maybe I kind of like this more purple color. I can bump up the saturation. Maybe I want it to be this more bluish color. I like that bluish water. That looks nice. Maybe I want to switch it over back over to the closer to that greenish color that I liked, right? And so this hue filter works particularly well, especially well with Fey, because Fey is always such a wonky, crazy, colorful thing. And so these things really, 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 really help. So definitely use this hue slider bar to kind of help you out. Now, again, just to emphasize, don't worry if you feel intimidated by 15 minutes. We had a 5-minute map challenges for a lot of our explorers and our champions, and that proved to be quite challenging and difficult. So I understand people's frustration or maybe a desire not to do that. But again, try to glean from the process, because maybe it takes you 2 hours to make a decent map. Upgrading your process can change that to an hour and a half, right? And the more and more you refine and you do that process stuff, the less time that you will take. So don't even worry about a 15-minute, worry about a time challenge. Get that process down and you'll instantly start to see your map making process begin to speed up. It's not taking you 3 hours to make a good map. It's taking you 2 hours or 1 hour. So process is absolutely everything. Okay, so we've kind of done that. Where are we at for time here? 37. Let's go ahead and save it. And then we'll add in some real, I think this actually looks pretty good. We could probably throw on maybe 1 or 2 more filters. So we'll let this save. We'll throw on some last bit of filters, and then we're going to do that 15-minute time challenge. And I'll probably make it just a little bit differently, not entirely the same as this one before. So go over to filter here. We're going to go to texture filters, and there's a whole host of texture filters that you find helpful. For right now, you'll notice that these are all the textures available in the Fantasy Battlemap style. Nice little trick. If you go up here, you'll notice Fantasy Battlemaps. Go right over to this one that says Inkarnate and give it a moment to load. And what it will do is it will load every single texture filter available across every style. This is so helpful because now you'll have all of these available to you. So there's a couple that I think that we could find useful. For instance, there's like this Fey fog. Like you could use this ghost fog vignette. This could work fine. You could put that down. That looks fine. You could also use this Fey fog right here. Landscape. That works fine. You see how it already adds a little bit of kind of purple, adds a little bit more blue to it, adds a little bit of this nice Fey to it. I kind of like that already. It looks kind of nice when you add that in there. Let's add in a couple more. I think there's also one called Sparks, I think. That's a good one. It's from the sci-fi battle map style. And a lot of these have alpha. So if you just go show names, this way I can kind of see it better and what you're looking for. And I'll just go ahead and choose Sparks. And I'll go ahead and bring the opacity all the way up on that one. And you'll notice that it has some of these kind of yellowish kind of sparks. Instead of them being sparks, though, they'll probably represent like some kind of forest spirit of some kind, or maybe fairies or something. It is the Feywild or the Fey, right? So that kind of makes sense. All right, that looks good. Okay. Let's see here. I think that's it. So let me just do one final save here, and then I'm going to delete everything. I'm going to make sure that everything is favorited, and then we're going to go through that 15-minute challenge. And just to let you know, much of future videos will be time challenges. So just know that that will be there, but don't worry, it's not the only ones that we're going to do. And with a lot of these maps, with these videos, I'm cutting them up into clips as well as turning them into time lapses, because some people kind of take in information in different ways. Some people don't want to listen to me blab on for an hour on how to make a map. They just want me to see me doing what I'm doing in the editor. And so, as you can see, we'll be turning a lot of these into time-lapse videos. Just know that they will be pretty quick, so you can just slow them down with a playback speed when you watch them on YouTube. Just make sure that you turn the sound off, because it's going to sound really, really weird with the music going super slow at that playback speed. Thank you, Music Pro. Appreciate you. Okay, so let's go ahead and delete everything. We'll go ahead and delete that. This thing right here didn't get deleted, so I'll select that and delete. I want to make sure I go back to my top layer, go to erase, then just go clear. Go all the way up to 100%. Clear, 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 clear. That looks good. I'm going to leave the filters on because there's no point in turning them off. And then I'm going to go over back to background layer, textures, go to my favorites. Let's see here. I didn't even favorite that one. Silly me. Favorite that. Let's go ahead and fill this. Let's see here. Go ahead and fill BG layer. There we go. That looks good. Okay, let me make sure that everything is kind of favorited. Did I use anything in my recents? This one right here. Did I favorite that? I did. Great. Okay, cool. Just want to make sure that I have everything. Let's make sure that I have this. Yep. Okay, everything seems to be set. I'm going to do one last save here, and then we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to get my timer out. I got to find my phone here. Turn on my timer. Yes, they're definitely more like guidelines than rules. Always. Okay, let's go ahead and get the timer set up. Personally, I love time challenges. I generally am not always happy with the map, with the way that it kind of looks. My phone is kind of screwing up here. I'm not always pleased with the way that they end up looking like, but I always remember that it's a 15 minutes, right? You made it in 15 minutes, and actually it's pretty impressive to get that much done in that period of time. Let's do that timer here. Here we go. Got it set up for 15 minutes. Perfect. All right, let's get cracking. So we kind of started out by using this. We're going to start by making our shape right here. In fact, that looks a little off. Oopsie, I noticed that I didn't do the FG texturing. Let's go ahead and make sure that I have it set up right. Right about there looks good. Let's curve it a little bit more inward like that to make it kind of feel like you can see more of the curvature of the lake. That looks good. So that looks good. If it gets in the way, remember you just resize it like this. Just resize it. Let's go up a little bit. You don't have to resize it too much, just enough to where they're outside. Okay, we'll add in the next step here, add the little island. Let me take a look here, about curved right about there, and then this goes in about that way. That looks good. All right, and then I'll go ahead and just use this texture right here, foreground. And I'm just going to quickly fill it. There we go. Yeah, so the island looks a little bit different than it did before. Okay, looks good. Let's go ahead and add in our shapes. Don't forget, we'll go in this way. Oops, let's go ahead and flip that real quick. There we go. Well, let's actually bring this in a little bit more right there. There we go. Same thing here. Create those shapes. And in fact, we'll bring it up a bit more this way. There we go. Flip. Let's go in here. Right there. There we go. Okay, that looks good. All right, we're going to select all that, create group. Looks great. Okay. Summoning circle, bring the scale down a little bit. About there, looks good. Okay, looks good. About there. Sweet. Okay. Bring those trees up. Oopsie, I just kind of noticed that this is at layer 5, and I don't want that to be there. And I want to lock this so it doesn't get in the way. There we go. Let's go ahead and throw in those trees. Put some in these corners here. One right there. Looks good. There we go. Okay. All right. Go to my favorites. Set in those standing stones. Highest layer, +5. There we go. Let's put one. Let's just go in the corners here, and then I can just kind of delete the ones that I don't want. Let's go with that one. Let's put this one on top. Like this, and in fact, we'll have 2. Like that. Maybe like this. Let's, oh, you know what? Let's have a T kind of like that instead. There we go. That looks good. All right, that looks good. And then let's delete a couple of these, like this one. Let's actually delete this one. And then let's take this one. Okay, a 15-minute city. Whoo-hoo! That'd be super duper challenging. Not sure that would be possible. How about like a 15-minute village? That is possible. Though we could do a 1-hour city stream. That might not be a bad idea. That is doable. It's obviously not going to look good as one that you put several hours into. That's just the name of the game. Unfortunately, generally putting more time into something does make it better. It's not always the case. Depends on your skill and stuff. But as a general rule of thumb, more time generally means better. But yes, a 1-hour city map is totally doable. And that's something that we might want to consider doing in a future stream. So definitely do not give up on that concept. That sounds like a lot of fun, actually. So we'll definitely look into maybe doing that. Okay. Oopsie. I just realized my trees are on the wrong layer. Looks like I'm going to be spending most of my time just doing all this fixing. You'll never get it done in time. All right, there we go. Cool. Make sure I got this right. There we go. Yeah, add in some of this stuff. Okay, that's good. Add in some here. That looks good along the shoreline there. Go ahead and add in our stuff here, here. That looks good. Okay. Let's go ahead and add in our stuff here. Oopsie, wrong layer, my mistake. Bring that up. About there. Put this one right here. Here. Let's put some smaller ones. There we go. That looks good. Let's bring the scale down on this one a little bit. There we go. Bring this one big, this one kind of medium size. There we go. Okay. Just kind of keep adding stuff here. Let's go ahead and add those tentacles in. Make sure they're kind of hidden underneath the trees so you can't see them. We'll put in just a couple. Oop, not that one. That one looks good. Oop, let's go ahead and put that down a layer. Oop, no, I think here is fine, actually. Coming out of the bushes might look good. There we go. All right, that looks good. Let's go ahead and add in this tile right here. Go ahead and bring the opacity. Where are we at for time? 9 minutes, 30 minutes? Sweet. We're making good time here. We're getting a lot done. Let's go ahead and undo these changes. I didn't mean to do that. Always bring the opacity down a little bit. There we go. And we'll go ahead and throw in some of these squares just to kind of break up the natural elements. That looks a little better. Great. Go ahead and add this on our background. Green lights along here. Along here. Instead of using a tree to go across, let's actually use a standing stone this time. We're going to do something different. So I'll go ahead and throw a standing stone. It kind of just leads right over to there. Just go right across, right over to the standing stone there. Let's also make these a little bit brighter. There we go. That way we can really get a sense of height there. That looks good. Okay, where are we at for time? 8:33, tons of time. Let's keep going. All right, let's go ahead and add some more details here. Throw these in right here. I wonder if I can just put them just right underneath the pillar there. That might look good. Right there looks good. And then we'll put another one in like right, let's say right there. That looks good. Okay, let's go ahead and push. Let's select all of these daisies here, or pansies, and we'll kind of change the hue to something that we like. Let's go with green. I'll bump up the saturation so I can really bring the green out. I'll bump the brightness up so that I can really get those to pop out. We'll go ahead and grab those trees, select all from the set. We'll bump up that saturation, really get that color popping. Let's see here. Maybe we can use a variant of green. Maybe like this one. Let's bump up that contrast a little bit, and we'll bump the brightness up. So that way they look like they're much higher up because they're trees. Bump that brightness up. You know what? I don't think green and green works well together, so we'll select all from the set again, go back to hue, and just kind of find a color that we want. Maybe, let's see here. I kind of like, yeah, let's just kind of go with that color. That looks good. All right, I like it. All right, where are we at for time? 7 minutes. So much time still. And see what it does. I'm telling you, a little bit of pre-planning just goes a long, long, long way. You gotta love it. It's just so nice. All right, let's go ahead and use this light all the way at the top layer. We are just moving along. Just goes so quick. Go ahead and change that. Let's go with, let me see here. Maybe, let's go with blue this time instead of green. So I'll put that blue light, copy, paste, put another one right on top, right there like that. That looks good. Let's go ahead and grab those Fey lights, and we'll change the hue to where it's that bluish color. Let's go right about there. Looks good. There we go. And then just go ahead and place those blue sparkly lights just right around like this. There we go. Now you have some blue sparkly lights there. Let's put some in the center too. That looks good. All right. Yeah, that looks good. Got some blue sparkles. That looks good. All of that looks good. Let's go ahead and throw in some details here. Let's type in Fey again. You see what happened when you do that? I did all that pre-planning and I already got so much done. And now I got to go into the catalog to find more things to add. Let's see here. I do think we have some vines here. Let's do that. Let's go and place that down. Let's change the hue to that greenish color. Let's bring the brightness down. Let's take it down a layer. And then we'll go ahead and take these kind of green vines and then kind of place them kind of emanating away from the trees. So some green vine there, copy, paste. Let's maybe put another green vine like right there. Copy, paste. Let's put another one like right over here in this corner. That looks good right there. Let's go put one over here on the island as well. Just one more either on the island. Just kind of like right there. Just like that. That looks good. Okay, cool. This looks much, much better. Let's go ahead and add in just a couple more filters. We still have our 5 minutes left. Let's see here. Could add in snow for effects. We could add in, let's go over plus sign. We'll go into the custom filters. Everything should be selected here. And I can kind of go over some stuff that we might want to use here. This leather is not a bad choice. Paper tears, anything that's going to add like elements like this light right here is a good choice. We can add in this light source right there like that. We'll give it that extra kind of feel to it. I think that looks good. Let's go ahead and throw in some alpha textures. Oopsie, let's go to Fantasy Battlemaps, and there should be some alpha textures. I don't know if you could type in alpha anymore. Yeah, you can't. You used to be able to do that. So just as kind of a heads up, alphas are going to be a lifesaver for you. Alpha supports transparency, and so it does some wonders for you. For instance, like this stone right here. So let's say I want to put some stone texture on the ground. I can bring the brush size down, bring the opacity down a little bit, not too much. And then let's also change the texture scale. There we go. And then I can just go ahead and apply these kind of stone texture, like along the edge here. See how I've got some, see how it added a little bit more detail to the map by throwing a little bit of stone on the ground. This is why alpha textures are so very helpful. They add a different element to the map without having to take two solid textures and then paint over each other constantly to get them to blend properly. Alphas will just blend immediately with whatever textures beneath them. So that's why alpha textures are so important. Oh, they're called overlays now. Thank you, Alice. Good one. That's a good one. I didn't even know that. And I work here. Let's go ahead and add twigs and leaves. That's a good one. We'll add that. Let's go ahead and just make sure that the size is right. Texture scale, about that looks good. Let's do that. And I'll just start applying that. Let's go ahead and go 100% opacity is fine. And then just kind of apply this kind of dirt, stones. And you see, you don't have to place a bunch of stamps. You can use alpha textures to do a lot of the heavy lifting when it comes to texture blending and coming up with little artifacts, because you would expect stones on the ground, right? You would expect a lot of fallen leaves or fallen branches, stones, all of that stuff. Let's go throw in one more. Let's type in leaves, and there should be a green leaf alpha. Let's go ahead and make sure that I really, really bump up the saturation and really get that green color. There we go. And then I'll just apply these green, as you would expect. Wherever you see trees, green trees, that's where you're going to put those green fallen leaves, right? Because it makes sense. That's where the leaves fell down. There we go. And now you can see there's a ton of textures. Alphas are king or queen, whichever one. Alphas do so much work for you, so definitely use them. All right, well, there's about 1 minute and 50 seconds left, so we could just keep adding stuff. There's just so much here. Let's type in Fey again. There should be some Fey lights. Let's use these green. Let's use these green lights right here. We're going to put on the FG layer, and I'll just kind of apply some of these like sparkly green along here, just to add in a little bit more detail. I don't want it to be too busy. Well, you can zoom in now and see when your players are walking around. They have tons of things to interact with, kind of hacking away at these, crossing along here to get to here, interacting with things that might be in the water. Tons of things to do here. So you have a little gauntlet leading right up to the island with those henge, with the henge. Let's see here. Let's go ahead and add more because there's still so much more we could do. Let's, one thing that could be nice is to throw in some vines. I've only got 50 seconds left. So let's go throw in some vines here, and we'll put them on top of the henge, as you would kind of expect, right? So we'll go ahead and put some a little bit of this here. And what I'll do also is I'm going to go ahead and select all of that, and I'm going to change the color on it. So I'll just select all from this set, bump that saturation, bump that brightness up, and then change the hue to a color that I like. I kind of like that kind of purplish blue color. It kind of works well. All right, 23 seconds left. That is it. So you can see there's a lot that you can kind of do, right? Pre-planning is how to do it. I was actually running out of things to do. My time, I had so much time left over because I had done so much pre-planning. The thing that you'll notice, and I mentioned this in the last 2 episodes, is that what takes up a lot of your time in the map making process is just searching through the catalog and looking for the stamps that you want, right? Just that alone takes up so much time. And so if you do all that in the beginning, you're cutting out a lot of that through the actual building process of making the map. And what that will do is it will speed up that process. If you do the pre-planning first, you won't be spending 20 minutes at a time going through the catalog, looking for stamps and all of that stuff. Because again, what takes up a lot of that time is just going through the immense amount of art that Inkarnate has in its catalog. And that can be time consuming, especially if you're relatively new to the tool, you don't know all the tags, you don't know what words to search for. So it's important to do that pre-planning first so that you're not spending gobs of time doom scrolling through the catalog looking for that one stamp that you need, right? So I'll quickly save it here, and then we'll go ahead and we'll call it good. I hope everyone's got some fun weekend plans. I know I do. Again, just to mention this again, we will be doing a lot more time challenges in the future. Please don't let anyone get confused, because don't worry about the time part, just follow the process. Hey, first time chatter Santum, glad that you are here. Awesome. So many great people. I love seeing all these beautiful faces. All right, everyone. Thanks a lot for watching. I hope this kind of helped getting that process and kind of putting things together. Again, not my favorite looking map, but it looks decent for just 15 minutes, right? All right, please take care, and I will see you all on Monday of next week. Stay safe and healthy, and merry map making. Bye, everyone. Take care.